Hello, everyone. I have a special report for you today. I did a regression yesterday, which was quite interesting. It covered a few different topics, and I'm going to hopefully have that released today for the public. But I wanted to share with you something that came out of it that I have been contemplating for a while. It's in regard to the fires that were happening around the planet. And the fires, particularly in California, the fires that started happening in Australia. And it sort of relates to a little bit of something that Peter said regarding some of the shooters that came out, and he forewarned us that that was going to happen. Unfortunately, he doesn't forewarn us on how to stop it. But what he did say is that Monarch had implanted mind control implants or something that created these triggers, and so these are heavily monarched people, and whatever it is, whether it's a keyword or an activation of etheric activation, maybe through my lab it's a certain date or time. I'm not quite sure exactly what the motivation is, and well, I know what the motivation is to create chaos, but also to prevent humanity from doing what they need to do and creating unnecessary distractions and further the agenda of the slave system and the one world order. I don't know, Jade Helm, whatever it is that they're trying to do to further harness humanity and bring them into submission. So the fear tactic does work very well. It puts people at an anxious point. So here we have many different things going on, and I've mentioned this before that, there's been very little done to prevent huge amounts of fire. And I won't say that the fire department wasn't helpful or anything like that. It has nothing to do with it. It's just that it all came in a heavy wave. So, and also in Australia. Now, here was a theory, and I didn't put it out there because it was a theory. I know that in the past, a couple years ago, when I first started talking about it, I said Dionysus was starting these fires, and he was. He literally was. I caught him on many parallels. I asked for assistance to stop him. The problem is the fires kept on going, and I didn't see him in those spaces. I saw him in a few of them, like around the Amazon. But I did not see him necessarily at work directly creating the fires of Australia or the fires in California. So getting back to the soldiers that were activated, these monarch-controlled soldiers that were activated to create these shooter events, my theory was that the children of Monarch, the children that have been heavily into mind control, heavily brought into the My Labs, were then also being triggered to start the fires. Now that's a very powerful claim, and a very dangerous one to bring up because of the innocence of children. But if children are being used, which they often are, to do certain things, kind of like the Slender Man event, where the astral being Slender Man, or there's more than one, comes in and manipulates these children into harming another child. Likewise, the same programs can also activate children to start these fires. I had no proof of it until, and there's bits and pieces, if you look online, referencing that there were some children involved in some of the fires. When I say children, it could also be teens, So yesterday when I did the regression with someone. We discovered that we cleared some things, particularly a Saturn cube and some very advanced old ancient AI that was affecting the planet, and this was with Hikita. And, there were some other things that happened too. It was a whole thread of Samyase throughout the regression, and as we know, Samyase is heavily involved with children because of her pedo activity and interest. And so it opens things up, and so there's the connection to children and her persuasion over children. I say her, I say that very loosely because, as I said, Samyase's fallen angel is a male fallen angel. Okay, so after we did the regression, she contacted me and said she was viewing what she referred to as an astral fire starting, and that she could see it in her living room. So when we removed the AI and some other things, the facade was removed, and then she could clearly see what they were doing and some of the portaling and other things that were happening. And it was very difficult for her to view that, because when you see something like that in the astral, the first concern is that it doesn't manifest in this reality. So having it take place in her living room was very concerning to her, and she was having trouble sleeping. Contacted me again, and we did some work to clear it. And something like that I don't ever ignore, because I know that it's a point of manifestation, because if it happens in one dimension, parallel, or other reality, even pocket reality, it does impact us one way or another. And so even if it didn't harm her property or her directly, then it's possible that that it could happen somewhere else, and so we just don't want to welcome anything like that in the first place. So after that, I began to look into and I had recalled some of the news articles that were coming out, and there was 3 12-year-old boys that were caught lighting fires in Australia, which I'm going to provide the link for that. That happened, I believe it was recent. And, 12-year-old, it's pretty young to be doing something like that. And it's, December 2nd, the article came out, 2019. So, that was clearly a problem. So that's the first one. I was also looking at some earlier ones. I remember Jennifer had mentioned to me that she saw something in the news regarding this is in California, that they saw some children running from a fire, and then nothing more was said about it. I think it just kind of was on local news, and then nothing further was stated, and that was a couple months ago. So then there was another boy, let's see, bushfire. This is also in Australia. And the teen arsonist charged for lighting fires that destroyed 14 QLD homes. And, teen boy was charged with arson after 14 homes were destroyed in a bushfire in Queensland. So I'm pretty positive that it's not normal for kids to do something like that. It's particularly knowing that homes are going to be destroyed, people are going to be harmed. I believe that they're under mind control in Monarch. And as I said, we need to shut down Monarch and the programs. And I would like for all of you to be in agreement with me that any attempt to manipulate children, particularly anyone that has disabilities, autism, and so forth, that are, feeling not necessarily connected to our communities, and that those are or like lone wolf types that are at home or whatever, that they feel that they're comforted and loved and part of the community, and that they're not vulnerable to these programs. And even if they're not, that's not the issue. Some these children come from very good homes, but they're still being heavily mylabbed and attacked. And many of you that have experienced any type of mylabbing can understand this completely. The bloody noses and the strange dreams and other things that are happening. And so we're just asking, as in a collective way, to shut down, delete, uninstall any and all programs, any and all MyLab experiences, any and all inserted technology, cyborg tech, or anything that's being put in people, implants, any type of pocket realities that are harming people and then creating these events. Thousands of people have been affected by these fires. And so and whatever other agenda there may be, to clear off the coast or whatever, you can say it's just government, but I think it goes deeper. So let's, one by one, we'll just try to remove and eliminate the unnatural manipulations to our population. And we can ask for our highest intention for humanity, and remember that this is our timeline. We can shift into the highest intention for humanity here, to all of us, return back to our proper timeline, reset that. Just say, I'd like to reset back into my proper timeline. I'd like to send protection and love to all the children and all of those that are being used to be triggered to go off and harm others out of mind control and because of implants. And we ask to neutralize any and all implants and mind control. But in this case, this was ancient tech, ancient AI, artificial intelligence, and I'm asking to have that all shut down. And that's multidimensional. I believe it was viewed on Saturn. So today I'll try to get out that regression so you can hear it, and then you can listen a little bit more about what had transpired. But this part about what happened afterwards was not recorded, but I'm sharing that in advance. So thank you for listening. Have a good day.